My name is Serenity, and this is my story. It is not a happy story at first, but it is mine, and it is important to me. I had a simple life, one that I loved deeply. I lived in a small house with my husband, Lucas. He had a kind smile and warm eyes, and when he laughed, I felt safe and happy. We met at school. He was smart, funny, and he made me feel beautiful for the first time in my life. 2 years later, we married in a small ceremony with family and a few close friends. I thought our life would always be perfect. I had a younger sister, Valentina, my best friend since childhood. We grew up together, shared a room, shared clothes, and told each other every secret. When Lucas and I moved to the city, Valentina followed soon after. I was thrilled to have both my husband and my sister close to me. The three of us spent so much time together watching movies, cooking dinners, laughing late into the night. Lucas helped her often. He fixed her car and helped her find a job. I thought it was sweet, that he was just being a caring brother-in-law. Slowly, though, things began to change. Valentina started visiting when I wasn't home. She brought Lucas lunch at work, and he began talking about her constantly. He called her smart, funny, and full of life. I smiled when he spoke about her, but deep inside, a small cold feeling began to grow. I told myself I was being silly. He was my husband, and she was my sister. I trusted them completely. Then, one day, Lucas gave me a silver heart-shaped necklace for my birthday. I wore it every day. A week later, Valentina came over wearing a nearly identical necklace, but hers was larger, adorned with a tiny diamond. When I asked about it, she said she had bought it herself, smiling brightly. Lucas smiled too. My small heart necklace didn't feel as special anymore. Soon after, Lucas began working late nights. He said he had a big project at the office, and I believed him. Until one night, when he didn't come home until after midnight. When I called his office, a sleepy man told me everyone had left hours ago. My hands trembled. When Lucas finally came home, he smelled faintly of flowers, Valentina's favorite perfume. My heart sank, but when I asked, he said his boss wore perfume and brushed it off. I wanted to believe him so badly. I needed to. Weeks passed, and I tried to ignore my doubts. I told myself I was being paranoid. I even met Valentina for coffee to feel close again. She laughed when I told her I sometimes felt left out. "Oh, Serenity," she said, "you're his wife. You're the most important person in his life." She smiled, held my hand, and told me she loved me. I believed her. I believed both of them. When our 5th wedding anniversary came, I planned a surprise trip to the mountains, a quiet weekend getaway by the lake. But when I told Lucas, he said he couldn't go. He had to work that weekend. I was heartbroken but tried to understand. The next day, my friend Kate called. She was visiting that same mountain town and said she saw Lucas there with a woman. They were laughing, holding hands. My voice broke when I asked what the woman looked like. She had long blonde hair, Kate said softly. I think it was Valentina. Everything inside me shattered. I drove home in tears, packed a bag, and went to my parents' house without a word. I stayed there for 2 days, too broken to speak. When I finally returned home, Lucas was waiting, looking pale and desperate. He tried to hug me, but I pushed him away. I confronted him with what I knew. He denied it at first, but when I told him someone had seen them, his silence said everything. How long? I demanded. A few months, he whispered. My heart broke again. I told him to leave. He begged, but I didn't waver. I watched him pack his things and walk out the door. The next day, Valentina came. She stood crying on my doorstep, saying she loved me and never meant to hurt me. But her words felt empty. You already lost me, I said quietly. You lost me the day you chose him. I closed the door, and for a long time, I sat on the floor, listening to her cry outside until she drove away. The weeks that followed were dark. The house felt hollow. I took down every picture, every memory, and hid them in the attic. I barely ate, barely slept. My friend Kate became my lifeline. She called, visited, and refused to let me disappear completely. Slowly, painfully, I began to heal. One morning, sunlight streamed through the window, and I realized I hadn't cried. That small moment felt like a victory. I started taking walks in the park, breathing in the fresh air, watching birds and children play. I painted my walls bright yellow, bought new curtains, rearranged my furniture. My home was mine again. I learned that I didn't need anyone else to make me whole. I was enough. A year passed. I still had sad days, but more good ones too. One morning, I bought sunflowers for my kitchen, bright, golden, and full of life. They became a symbol for me, flowers that always face the light. My friend Kate visited and said I looked lighter, freer. She was right. I had finally let go. Later, I met an old friend named Quinn, who invited me to join her art class. I used to love drawing but had forgotten that part of myself. I went, nervous but hopeful. My first drawing was of sunflowers, and though imperfect, it filled me with pride. Each week, I drew more trees, birds, colors of life returning to me. One evening, I saw Lucas and Valentina on the street. For a moment, I froze. Then I kept walking. I said hello, calm and steady. I no longer felt pain or anger, only peace. They were my past. I was my future. Now, when I wake up in my yellow kitchen, sunlight spilling over my sunflowers, I feel grateful. I'm not the same woman I once was. I'm stronger, braver, more myself. I learned that losing everything isn't the end, it's the beginning of becoming who you're meant to be. Like sunflowers, I learned to face the light.